In today's episode of the Hexagon Challenge, it is the last of the 2026-27 season at AS Monaco. It's our last Ligue game against Nimes Olympique. Let's see where we finish off, and we will also do an end of season review and look at where we can improve the squad next season should we still be here. And we'll also give a quick look at the job openings to see if anything takes our fancy. Let's get into a big episode now. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Hexagon Challenge here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well. If you are new to the channel, then please do consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated and helps more people get eyes on the channel. So, in yesterday's episode, we played the Coupe de France final. We got a bit of help by a red card and were able to overcome a 1-0 deficit to win 2-1, and we have, because of that, booked our place in the Europa League for next season. Now, off the back of that, we did have a pretty important game Champions League qualification-wise against Lyon, a game that we pretty much needed to win, and unfortunately we drew it 1-1. I'll show you guys the highlights. It's going to be a bit of a heartbreaker for me, but we'll get through it. We were absolutely dominating this game all throughout it, and then in the 75th minute, Flavio Henrique got past his defender into a nice position and tucked it away on the near post past the keeper, and I thought we were looking good there, 1-0 with quarter of an hour to go, and we absolutely dominated this game. But then Lyon, in the first minute of added time, fizzed the ball into Pedro in the box. Somehow he got his foot on the end of it, and they rescued a draw. You look at the stats, that was such a heartbreaker. I thought we deserved to win. And in the end, that is what is going to cost us Champions League football this season, because if we look at the table, it is all wrapped up already. We are pretty much only here to play spoilers today for the likes of Lille and Lens. One of those two teams could miss out on European football should we pick up a win against Nimes Olympique, who, considering they are down in 17th, you would expect us to do. But if we won that game against Lyon, they would be on 69 points, we'd be on 66. A pretty similar goal difference. It would be a very interesting episode, albeit we would still be relying on Lyon to drop points, and they are playing Metz, who, if we scroll down, are already relegated right at the bottom of the Ligue table. So it was pretty unlikely anyway, but that result made it absolutely certain. Off the back of that, now we did make some changes tactically. I'll show you these first. We just changed a couple of players' position role duties. So we put Dembele to an inverted winger instead of an inside forward, as he's more comfortable with that. Flavio Henrique from a pressing forward to an advanced forward. And we also put Ricky Puig from a carrilero to an advanced playmaker on support. And the results off the back of that, seeing as we didn't really have anything to lose once we dropped points in that Lyon game, have been really good. We have come out swinging in both of these games, albeit against teams who are pretty far down the table. A 3-0 win against Cannes, goals to Alvaro Fernandez, our backup left back, Flavio Henrique and Callum Hudson-Odoi, and then we took on Brest, and Henrique and Dembele both got doubles, and we won that 4-0, those 4 goals coming inside the first 15 minutes. So it was a very fast start, and then we just consolidated off the back of that, but 2 very good performances. And it's got me questioning whether that's something I should have done sooner, but we'll live and learn, and maybe that is something that's going to help us next season. So really, the game in today's episode is really just about showing off and seeing if we can, as I said, keep a few more teams out of the European spots, as we have already locked ours in for next season. And Lille and Lens still have quite a bit to play for in their games. As long as we win ours, they won't be getting past us with our far superior goal difference. So we will get into this game. Everyone's available. I will see you when the match coverage starts. We are at the Stade de Costierles against Nimes Olympique. Okay, we have TV coverage for this last day of the season. Here's the Nimes Olympique team playing a formation pretty much identical to ours, so it's going to be interesting to see how we match up against that. Our lineup is quickly becoming our regular lineup now, with Henrique up top, with Hudson-Odoi and Dembele on the wings. Mikado might be a backup striker now, because Flavio Henrique has certainly jumped up in my estimations of him as a out-and-out striker. So that's something that we will go over when we look at the potential transfers that we will bring in over the off-season transfer window at the end of this episode. But it is Nimes in the all-red. They are kicking off, playing right to left. We are in the blue and yellow outfit. They have an early attack that we cut out. It is 0-0 after 5 minutes. Goal kick to Nimes Olympique here in the 12th minute. They boot it long, but we're able to get on the end of a header from a Nimes attacker, and we're knocking it about the back here. Hopefully we can strike early again. A little bit of a loose pass there, but Ricky Pui gets on the end of it and puts one over to Dembele, who has found a really nice patch of form. He has a shot that is always going to be going wide with where that defender was covering him, and it's still 0-0, but we're at least getting some shots off after 15 minutes. Goal kick to us Monaco here after 20 minutes. Pretty quiet game so far, it has to be said, but we might get something going here as Flavio Henrique will have pace on the defenders here. It's a narrow angle for a shot. It's a tackle. It's not a penalty. Nimes clear it, but it only goes out to Tessier, and we might be able to get another attack on the go here. Ampadu up to Agumi. Hudson-Odoi back to Ampadu, building up nicely in the opposition half. Hudson-Odoi again, right on the line. He puts one in for Henrique. Here's a shot. But again, it's wide. We're creating chances, but need to put more on target. 0-0 after 22 minutes. Throw in to Nimes. We've headed that clear, but it will go out to Karlstrom for Nimes, and they will keep possession. They play it back towards the back, try and pop one over the top there, but we're able to cut it out. And Sevillano plays that back to Agrumi, who does lose possession. He is on a yellow card, so something we're going to have to keep an eye on here. Albeit this is a game where the result isn't overly important, as I said earlier. We're just looking to play spoiler for Lille and Lens. But they have a good attack on the go here. Dude, Nimes back to Els. Roquez, Karlstrom. What can they do? Agrumi cuts that one out. Now Flavio Henrique could put Hudson-Odoi away here, or Dembele on the other side. Oh, here's a shot himself. That's a pretty poor option, it has to be said. Good counter attack, but it remains 0-0 after half an hour. Throw into Monaco in the 39th minute. Very quiet first half, not like most that we've had in our last couple of games, but as long as we can get something going now, I will not mind too much. Well, that's a poor pass from Agumi, and we've given possession away here, but we will get it straight back from a long clearance, and Tapsoba gets the ball back into the opposition half. We get it up to Dembele. Puig puts a nice ball in for Tessier, who is now also on a yellow card. Crosses that into the midfield. Ampadu looks to find Mulder and does so nicely. Over for Agumi, back out to Mulder. Stretching them. It's a cross with Dembele. Now Puig with a long shot. Nice effort. Forces Gomez to tip that over the bar. The first real shot on target in anger. We have a header from the corner, and Mulder has just put that over. Some good chances there, but looks like we might be going into half-time at 0-0. And indeed, we are going into half-time at 0-0. Not many good chances. The best one's coming late in that first half. Pretty average, I'd have to say, so far, but at least it's coming in a game that doesn't mean a heck of a lot. Before we give this half-time talk, I will take Callum Hudson-Odoi off because he isn't up to much tonight, and we will bring Gelson Martins on for him. See if that can do anything. Gelson Martins has actually signed a new contract for next season. I'm not sure if I've brought that up yet, but he has, so he will be sticking around the club for the early part of next season. We'll see what happens. We might be able to maybe upgrade him and get a fee for him, but he's a bit of a club legend. He has been at the club for a long time. I think in game he's just brought up his 275th league appearance for Monaco, so might be a bit controversial letting him go. We're playing right to left in the second half, nothing happening early, but we do now have a throw-in that we are going to give straight to Nimes, which is a bit frustrating, albeit they are going to have to play out from the back. They get it to their defenders, get that up, and now they're in our half. Deoila up to Roquez Els, who is in a nice bit of space here. It's a tight angle for a shot. Goron can't hold on to it, but does enough to keep it out. Will be a corner for Nimes. They have started the second half off quite nicely. Gavarly to put it in. It is headed away by Tapsoba. Julidu has a cross blocked, and it will be another corner. And we will see the highlights from it as well. So they've camped down our end early this half, have Nimes. Good header away from Ampadu out to Alice. Or Alice it is actually. Hard to tell with the font on this screen sometimes, and that is a foul against Dembele, so it will be a free kick here for Nimes. They put this in, headed back by Braithwaite up to Rockers. Oh, Braithwaite in a lot of space there. He was offside though for that shot, so we get away with that early spell of possession to Nimes in our half. Still 0-0, albeit they now have a throw in, but Gelson Martins cuts it out back to Mulder, and we look to play Flavio Enrique through here. He's past his defender. Can he put this past the keeper? No, he can't. It's a good save. Probably the best chance of the game so far, but it remains 0-0, albeit we are able to get down their end again, although it's a poor pass from Puig, and it remains 0-0 after 55 minutes. Throw into Monaco after 60 minutes. Mulder puts it in the mixer. It is cleared away, but only as far as a gloomy, so we will stay in the opposition half, at least once our defenders stop playing around with the ball, albeit we have passed it right to the back. So sure enough, we're going to have to get back down the right end of the field. Sevillano puts one out to Mulder, back to Sevillano, just stretching the Nimes bodies, hopefully. Puig with a long ball. Gelson Martins will get on the end of this and we'll be able to put something in the box. Egan heads that clear. Flavio Enrique gets on the end of a Gelson Martins cross, and that puts us 1-0 ahead. A very good cross that from Gelson Martins, and Flavio Enrique was left open and was able to bury that at the top left corner. Egan, the former Sheffield United player who conceded an own goal in a coup de France game, he cleared it back out to Gelson, but they didn't cover Flavio Enrique from the rebound, and Gelson was able to find him very nicely, and he buried that nicely in that top left corner to Flavio Enrique. We are 1-0 up after an hour of play. We are now in the 70th minute. Paul Tessier on a yellow card. Not having an overly good game. What we'll do is bring Alvaro Fernandez on for him. Mulder can switch positions. That will be our sub. We've still got 20 to go, holding a 1-0 lead. Throw into Monaco, 76th minute. Now Gelson gets on the end of that. Back to Flavio Enrique. Gelson has a shot, tries to curve that top right corner, but can't quite find the pinpoint accuracy he was after, and it goes out for a goal kick that we will be able to reclaim. Fernandez heading that to Aguirre, over to Puig, looking to find Flavio Enrique, but we cannot, albeit we do receive the ball from the clearance and look to build again. Aguirre, over to Puig, long ball. He's trying to play a lot of those at the moment, but they're not as accurate as we would hope, and Nimes might be able to get us on the counter here. Alice down the right, and we'll find Biancon there. Can we keep our 1-0 lead with just over 10 minutes to go? It's a good open header there, but they put it over the bar. We hold on to the lead with 12 minutes to go. Okay, another throw-in for us here, but unfortunately Fernandez has given the ball straight to Reams, but Aguirre puts a good tackle in, especially on a yellow card. We're able to get possession back for now. That's a poor pass, but Sevillano is able to show enough toe to keep possession for Monaco. Now, Aguirre will find Dembele, who is on a red heart, so he might not last much longer, and it's a poor shot. We've only got one sub left, and I think I'm going to make it now. It will, however, be Aguirre who will come off on a yellow card, and we will bring Koulibaly on for him, I think is the best option. And hopefully we can hold on to this 1-0 lead with 10 minutes of our season to go. Throw in again to Monaco. We've only got 3 minutes left, and we do find Enrique with that one. Back to Ampadu. We keep possession. Puig back to Ampadu again. Dembele now. Ampadu, we're holding on now nicely here. Enrique tries to find Dembele with a through ball. We can't, but we do get possession back from the clearance, and it's Sevillano back to Fernandez. Gelson Martins, who came off the bench and created the assist, so maybe we should look at keeping him for next season. Fernandez over to Koulibaly. The bench player's nice ball, but Braithwaite clears it quite nicely as well. Looked like we were just going to get him behind there, but the Nimes Olympique defence able to clear it nicely. Enrique gets played through quite well as well, but that's a pretty poor finish from him, and it will remain 1-0 for now. The clearance from the goalkeeper only finds one of our defenders, and it's now a free kick as Enrique is offside, but we haven't got long to hold on to this 1-0 lead. And with 4 minutes of referee's time to go, Nimes do have a throw-in. We clear it, albeit only as far as Egan. He is being pressed quite nicely by our boys here. Sissoko back to Egan. We're making the defenders do some passing here, which they may not be very comfortable doing. It's a cross that Mulder is able to cut out very easily, and we get up to Puig. Dembele, he will have a run down the right, albeit on very tired legs, and he loses the ball. And they look to get us on the counter here, do Nimes. And then we try and get the clearance down the right end, but it's straight to Gomez. And looks like they're playing route one here, Nimes. We do cut that ball from the goalkeeper out, and it's Gelson who will find Dembele. Can we put Enrique through here to tackle, but it will go out for a corner. It was very, very safe. We've got 3 minutes to hold on to this lead. The shot from Tapsoba by the Dembele corner, just over the bar, and we've now got 1 minute left to go as Nimes have a throw in the last minute of the season. Hopefully we can keep this clean sheet. Fernandez heads that out nicely, and Enrique should be able to get on the end of this, and he might have the pace, even with a red heart, to get past his defenders here. Here's a shot straight at Gomez, but all he can do is tip that over the bar, even though it was straight at his chest. So this will at the very least suck up some time. The corner is headed back out to Dembele. We keep possession. He makes his way into the box. Makes it back out. Egan with a block. Now we're trying to play Gelson in there. Won't work, but that should suck up the rest of referee's time. And indeed it does. We have finished with a fairly unconvincing, but I'd say deserve 1-0 win there. You look at the shots on target, shots overall, XG, as well as possession. All the stats really point towards us, so I think we deserve that, albeit not as convincing as our last couple of wins, but it will mean that we do finish Ligue in 4th position, which, considering we joined the club halfway through the season in 10th, is not a bad result at all, even though we didn't do what we were hoping to do in achieving Champions League qualification for next season. We'll just see how the rest of the results went, and if that Lyon result a couple of games ago would have cost us a place, or if it did not matter, and indeed it wouldn't have mattered anyway because there's 7 points clear of us. I think we can put the blame down on some frustrating draws that we did have against teams in the bottom half of the table who we should have been beating. We have only lost 1 league game since coming here. That was against Lens. But overall, I think we've done a pretty good job, and if we can keep the sort of form that we have had since we've joined the club up for next season, we should be in the second, third fight. Probably won't be pushing PSG, but we'll see how we get on. Of course, the one game we did play against PSG, we did score a late goal and bet them 2-1. So never say never, but they're a completely different animal here, PSG. It's going to take a wee while, I would say, to overcome them, but if we can match it with them somewhat, we should get ourselves in a good position to perform well in Europe. So what we will do is we'll wrap up the rest of these inbox items in game until the end of season review comes, and I will then bring up my spreadsheet to show you guys how we're looking squad depth wise for next season and the players that we are looking to bring in on transfers. So I'll see you guys shortly for a end of season review. Okay, so we have gone to full screen mode for this end of season review and a look at what we're going to do in the transfer window, just because it's easy for me to switch between screens. If it looks a bit different, that is why. But not too long after that last game, we've got our end of season review so we can see how it's been rated. Now, the thing that we do have to consider here for this end of season review is that we did only join the club halfway through the season, so some of the stuff isn't going to be applicable to us, but we'll have a look at it anyway. New arrivals. Now, in terms of the best new arrival, straight away the 2 best ones are the ones that we bought in, which is quite nice to see. Rodrigo Mercado didn't play many games. In the end, he did get injured for a fair while, so that didn't help his cause. But he got 6 goals and 3 assists from 13 appearances, 2 off the bench. And of course, Paul Tessier played a lot more games, 22 games, 5 assists, no goals, but a 7.0 average rating. Pretty good job for us, and the rest of these guys, players that we did use, but a lot of their game time came when we were not at the club. Joseph Kubeka was a player that we did bring in from South Africa, but he's more going to be a Monaco 2 player, I believe, looking at his potential ability. But overall, most of these signings that were brought in this year did do quite well, so we can't complain about those. Transfers out, look, most of these happened when I wasn't at the club, so I don't know if we can evaluate those too much. Just go down a bit more. We did sell Sandro Alberto for 4.7 million. Not an overly good player. That was in between the last couple of transfer windows as well, actually. So that was a sale that we made. Spearwack was one that we made, as was Toppy. So a couple of these we made, but on the whole, we didn't do a lot of outgoing business. So we'll see what we can do in the next transfer window where we have a bit more time and a few more options. And there are the players that we loaned out. One of these players in particular I do have an eye on for next season, Pascal and Helene, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Also, Loftus-Cheek and Denao, of course, we did bring back when we got to the club in that transfer window. Neither made any first-team appearances starting for us, but they did come off the bench occasionally. Denao is leaving the club. He did not sign a contract, so he is joining Feyenoord. Loftus-Cheek, we might look at moving him on just because he does count as a non-EU player, which is a little bit frustrating. So, yeah, we'll see what we do there. But, interesting, as Callum Hudson-Odoi does count as an EU player. Loftus-Cheek doesn't. So, we might look and see if we can improve in that area. In terms of results, a lot of these aren't when we were here, but we did win the Coupe de France. We actually did play all of this competition, so that was good to see. We only scraped through the first round on penalties. That was one of our first games in charge against the National Championship side. And I thought we might be in trouble there, but after that we got on a nice little roll. And of course, in the last episode, had help from that red card to Reims to come back and win the final, which locked up our Europa League group stage spot for next season, even though we achieved that through league position. Anyway, the board disappointed. I mean, we promised them Champions League. We nearly got there. In the end, I think the damage was done before we got to the club. We joined at the halfway mark, so if we look, we were started our time with that Marseille game. Overall, the results, once we got here, very good. The only blip being that Lens game, but on the whole, if we can keep that sort of format for next season, we should certainly be in the Champions League hunt. Europa League, knocked down in the second knockout round by Southampton. They went a fair way getting knocked down in the semi-finals themselves, so while it's disappointing, they do understand because we had a difficult draw, albeit the grade for that competition not great, and we lost in the pre-season Trophée des Champions, which we should again be in next season, having won the Coupe de France, but yeah, we didn't play this game, so we will just skip that one. In terms of moments to remember, our biggest win was against Sochaux Montbéliard. That wasn't too long before this game, actually. A nice 5-1 win. Turn the style on there. Match to remember, our first derby, not long after we joined the club, and an absolute second half onslaught from us, a 4-0 win away from home against Nice. And the goal of the season was Hudson-Odoi. I did show you guys that one back a couple of episodes ago, and if you want to catch that, I will put that in the top right corner so you guys can click on that and go to that video because it was a great goal. Bit of individual brilliance there from Callum Hudson-Odoi. Finances, a little bit disappointing, but I don't know if in the previous year they were in the Champions League and this year they weren't, so that might have something to do with it. A little bit of a drop in most areas, which is disappointing, but we did make up for that with a lot more money in sponsorship, so hopefully that balanced the books. And in terms of how we lined up for our best team, obviously this is missing the likes of Tessier, but apart from that, you put Tessier in for Fernandes, and that is pretty much the lineup that we did play once we got here, so it's not too different. And in terms of players of the season, we're probably looking around Enrique and Dembele based on those stats, but we'll see who gets it. And it was Ousmane Dembele getting Fans Player of the Season, with Enrique getting Young Player of the Season. Probably fair enough. Mikado, even with limited impact, got signing of the season. Top goal scorer Enrique. Goal of the season, as we saw before, was Hudson-Odoi. Most assists, Riqui Puig with 12. He got the most player of the matches too. So, despite being one of the lowest rated players in our starting 11 now, he's still doing a very good job for us. Our captain, the highest average rating, Dembele, and the pass completion, Puig, as you would expect for the assist master. We have a few record breakers. The transfer fee, of course, for Tessier. We're going to be having to deal with that for the next few years. We've still got 3 years of losing 30 million of our transfer budget, but hopefully we can deal with that. And Michael Gourdon, a very good season. He beat the previous record of clean sheets by a player, which was 18. He brought up 20. In terms of competition awards, the most promising player went to Flavio Enrique in Ligue 1, so that is good to see. And you can see here the history in the making, but mostly about the Coupe de France, and yet the comment on the right is about Ligue 1, which is interesting. Probably fair though. Look, I thought we did pretty well. We get fourth in the end, but I probably overpromised when I had the job interview. Should have just stuck with Europa League qualification instead of that Champions League promise I made. It nearly came off, but not quite. So we'll just go through the best 11, see if any of our players are in here. Ampadu and Tapsoba are in this. You've got Loftus-Cheek is in there with Riqui Puig, Hudson-Odoi on the wing. And in terms of the bench, Goron's made his way onto the bench. Gelson Martins is there. as is Ousmane Dembele and Flavio Henrique. So a couple of our players in that first 11, and as well as some on the bench, so we haven't had too much of an impact yet. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. We'll just skip past a few of these. Now, expectations for next season. They're not too worried about signing high reputation players now, which is actually quite good, because I didn't like that. That gives me a bit more freedom in the transfer window, so that's nice to see. Next season, qualify for the Champions League. Absolutely, they want us to reach the Europa League semi-final. That might be a bit tough, and keep on developing best youth system in the country. That's something we might have to work on staff-wise over the off-season, because our youth intake this season was pretty pathetic, it has to be said. We will accept that vision though. Squad dynamics, our managerial support has gone up from poor to good now, so that is nice. And we'll do the end of season team meeting and cause a train wreck, because that's what usually happens. I think we'll just say that we can secure qualification. I'm pleased to hear that. That's good. Okay, that worked actually quite well. I wonder how many bad talks I've given because I didn't scroll down. Either way, a few players quite happy that we are going for Champions League qualification and believe that they will stay around, which is nice to see. And also say that we can reach the latter stages of the Europa League, which people think is a sensible target. So I think we'll be happy with that meeting. Not as much of a train wreck as I thought, although we said that we were making any promises and now Dembele's complaining. I think on the whole it went well. Dembele a little bit disappointed, but I think we did pretty well there. So that is going to be it in terms of wrapping up this season. We'll just have a quick look and see if the transfer budget's gone through yet. It hasn't. I'll just go forward a little bit and see if that ticks over, and we can look at players that we have our eye on bringing in for next season. Oh boy, I was not expecting this much of a transfer budget. 199 million. I was under the belief that it was going to be 88 million. So that changes some of my targets, I'd have to say, because I was under the impression it would be 80 million. Either way, I'm pretty happy with some of the players that we've got, but good God, we've got 199 million. That is massive. That means we can do some absolute damage. Okay, that changes things quite a bit. Anyway, I'll talk you guys through some of the signings that I was looking at making. So for this, I've got a spreadsheet. Yep, I've gone into spreadsheet mode. As you can see, I've put a depth chart out and the numbers that I think we need. In terms of Europa League squad, I'm pretty sure the numbers that we were allowed to register this year were 25. What we've got here will cover the 25 positions. 3 strikers, 5 wingers, 7 midfielders. That gets us up to 15. 8 defenders. There's 23 and 3 goalkeepers. You have to register a minimum of 2, and then if one of them gets injured, you can bring another one in. So I think 3 goalkeepers is not a bad idea. So in terms of our current squad, we've got Gorlon, who is the current first choice. Raya is the backup. I am looking to get rid of Raya if we go back to Football Manager and go to our squad. That's probably the easiest way to do it, and we'll do it by best position. Look at David Raya. He's old. He's not very good. We might be able to keep him around because he's not much of a wage, but I don't really want to use him. In terms of where we're looking to go for next season, the player who stood out mainly because of his value for money was Jack McCaskill from Rangers in Scotland. Looks a decent enough backup, and considering he's only going to cost us apparently somewhere between 1.5 million and 3.6 million, here's the player who I've got down as the guy who we should be targeting. Goron has that potential ability, so he is definitely going to stay in the first team. But you look at this guy, he's a little bit better than Raya, and he has a fair bit of potential himself, so he looks like he could be a decent backup, and at the very worst will play a lot of games for Monaco too. So he is extremely interested in coming here. I think he's a good option. That is where we are looking at going with for our goalkeepers. In terms of defenders, we've got Quarta Tessier, Mulder, Fernandez, Sevillano, and Tapsoba, who I mainly play in the defending roles. Ampadu can also do a job there, but I'd rather keep him in that CDM role. I'm not looking at moving any of these defenders on. I've also got Ledger, who is a youth prospect who's about 2.5 stars. And that gets our wing backs up to 4, which is where I want them. I just feel like I need an extra ball-playing defender. So I've got 2 options. And considering the money we've now got, I think I know which one I'm going to be going for. It's probably going to be Tanguy Nianzou. He is going to be worth somewhere between 25.5 and 54 million, but I love his heading and jumping reach. He's a Frenchman. He has actually been at the club before. He snuck away to Bayern Munich. I would love to get him back. He is very good heading. looks extremely suited to the ball playing defender role. Well balanced. He just has everything you want in a player who's going to be playing in that ball playing defender position. So he is a definite target for us. The other player I was looking at was an 18-year-old David Aquaviva. I might bring him in anyway, to be honest. If we have that leftover money, we may as well get some extra squad depth, and he can sort of hang around Monaco too in the under-19s. He looks very promising. 18-year-old Italian. Also some very good heading. Jumping reach not as good, but that heading first touch for a ball-playing defender is going to be very nice. His decent passing and being only 18. He's brave. He's very determined. I love the look of him, so we might bring both those defenders in anyway. That is something that we could look at doing, but those were the two that caught my eye for the money that they were available for, albeit, as I said, we've been given an extra 110 million than I thought we would have, so keep that in mind. Now, our midfield, we've got Molo, who you would not have seen much of. We'll bring him up in a second. Then we've got Koulibaly, Agumi, Ampadu, Stamenik, Loftus-Cheek, Puig, and Cirillo, who is listed as more of a right winger, left winger, and striker than a centre midfielder. But as I said when we first got here, I think he looks like a more promising centre midfielder. So that's the category I'm going to put him in. I feel like we need one more player who can play CM and CDM. And if a good offer came in for Loftus-Cheek, I would like to get rid of him just because he's got that non-EU. And I think we've got enough options now in our scouting system that we can replace him. I'll bring Morrow up to show you guys why I'm looking at replacing him. It's the same case as Leia in goal. He just isn't very good in comparison to the other players here. 120k a week for him. 29-year-old Croatian. I'd rather have a young guy in the mix who could get some game time with the under-19s or Monaco too and could actually grow. He just doesn't look like he's going to do anything, and he is wanted by Al Rafa in Saudi Arabia, I believe that is. So he's a player we are definitely looking at moving on. And Loftus-Cheek, yeah, the non-EU just bugs me about him, and he is 31 years old now. With 74 million, I think we could bring in a player of as good a quality for less money than that who would not take up a foreign spot. In terms of players that we are looking to bring in that position, I hadn't actually found anyone, but that's largely due to the transfer budget I thought I was working with. I'm going to have to go and have another look at that now and just see if anyone catches the eye. But yeah, that transfer budget probably means we can look at bringing another player into the midfield to replace Morrow should we need to, but we'll still have our 7 midfielders, so it might be a bit of a luxury should we do that. Maybe we put Loftus-Cheek down in Monaco too, but a $74 million player on his wage down there seems like a waste. So yeah, we'll definitely look to get rid of Morrow, and if a good offer comes in for Loftus-Cheek, we'll probably get rid of him too and bring a replacement in who can cover both the CDM and centre midfield roles. Wingers, I would like 5 of these, 2 options on each wing, 2 that start, 2 on the bench, and then 1 just to cover just in case there's an injury. We've got Gelson Martins, and while I'm a little bit iffy on him sometimes, you can see what he provides off the bench for us in that last game. He is actually a really good option, so I think we'll keep him. Dembele and Hudson-Odoi are our starters. They are staying around. In terms of youth prospects, this is another player that we've got, Angelini. You would have seen him earlier, Pascal Angelini. I think we're going to get this guy in the mix for next season. He's an 18-year-old, fair bit of potential. He's got some nice stats in there. I think he is a player who can step out mainly for the under-19s, but when we need him, we can bring him into the mix for the first team. And we are also looking at bringing in another winger, and the one that caught my eye, there are 2, but the one who I thought would actually do a really good job for what we're after here is a Mengueri from Fiorentina, another Frenchman. In terms of what he's going to cost compared to his value, I think it's a good deal, 27.5 million to 35 million for a $25 million player. If you look at the inverted winger, inside forward sort of roles that we might have him playing, he is extremely well suited to that. He's got great finishing, which is nice to see if he wants to cut inside. He likes to run with the ball down the right, which is interesting for a left winger, but nevertheless, I think he'd do a decent job for us. He would definitely provide us with a backup option should one of Hudson-Odoi or Dembele get injured. So I think he's a player that we can look to bring in. And the other option I had, who now that we've got that extra transfer budget that we didn't think we were going to have, is Gabriel Fernandez. He is from Monterrey. He has a media description of Wonder Kid. He can mainly play as a left winger, but he can play all over that attacking part of the field except for up front, as you can sort of tell by his finishing. He's got a lot of potential. His stats, not the greatest, but at 20 years old, he's going to grow, and at the very least, I think we can bring him in, help him fulfill his potential and flick him on for a profit. And even though it says he's Argentinian, he has a bit of Spanish in him, so he does not count as a foreign player. So I think that's a good player that we can bring in as a fringe player. Guerri will probably be the guy I would actually have more around the first team, but Fernandez would certainly be a decent backup as well. And if we did bring both in, then Angelini, maybe we could also keep him out on loan so he can grow even more. And then our strikers, we've got Enrique, Macedo, and Gomez. Very happy with the first two of those. Gomez, another non-EU player. So if we look at him, he wasn't terrible when we gave him a chance, but he's good without being great, and he's not going to grow a lot at 24 years old. He actually doesn't take up a foreign spot because he is Portuguese. But if we get a decent offer in for him, we nearly got 55 million from a Chinese club for him in the mid-season transfer window, which I took, but he couldn't agree contract terms. If we can get rid of him, I have found a very good-looking Colombian striker who we can replace. Edwin Quintero, another wonder kid. You can see some of his stats are actually quite similar to Gomez, but he's a lot quicker. He's got a lovely first touch, and being 18 years old, he is still going to have the potential to grow a heck of a lot. Love the look of him. We might bring him in anyway with that transfer budget we have got. But those are my targets at the moment. So Quintero, Guerri, Fernandez. We've got Nianzu and Aquaviva at the back for central defenders. And we've also got McCaskill. If we go back to our usual shortlist, the other option now that we have to bring in is another central midfielder. We might be able to bring in a player like Akani Chukwuemeka, who can cover that central midfield well. He looks like a really good player. He is in the championship with Aston Villa, I believe. I think he picked up Championship Player of the Year. I do like the look of him. He might be non-EU because he's English, but he does also have some Nigerian in though, so that is actually going to counter that. He looks a pretty good prospect, but we're going to have to do a bit of scouting for the central midfield role. We actually nearly picked up both Tolisso and Moreno on free transfers, but they opted for Paris Saint-Germain and Barcelona respectively, which was a little bit frustrating. Tiesi is a player who I'd like to get, but I think he's going to cost an arm in the league. We nearly got him instead of Tessier in the last transfer window. There's some big names here, but I think we'll see how much money we have left once we do those other signings and if an offer comes in for Loftus-Cheek. But that is what we are looking to do transfer-wise, albeit, as I said, I wasn't expecting this much of a transfer budget. If we can't do good stuff with this for next season, I am going to be very disappointed at myself. So what will happen from here is I will play this off-season transfer window, do the pre-season friendlies as well, and we'll come back, do the transfer window roundup, and we'll probably have that Trophy de Champions game against PSG or our first game in Ligue to start next season. Due to the fact that we are starting a new season and we've got the transfer window coming up, it might take a few days for me to get to that stage. It does take a little while in Football Manager sometimes, the game, with all those transfers going on and to do that activity, as well as staff contracts and whatnot. So that is something that unfortunately we have to deal with. The other thing that is on the horizon for me anyway is a new laptop. I know that the last couple of videos when we've been doing the gameplay recording have been really poor. I've not been happy with the quality of them in terms of what my Bandicam's producing with choppy footage from in-game. But I've got a new laptop on the way and hopefully that will fix that issue. I do apologise that it's been pretty bad the last few episodes, quite choppy at times, but hopefully I'll be able to get that new laptop and it will be here and all set up and we'll be playing on it when I record the start of next season, and it should definitely be a lot easier on the eye for you guys in terms of viewing the games, a much better graphics card, all that good stuff that should make things run a lot smoother in the game. So that's something to look forward to. Hopefully you guys enjoy the improvements that are happening here on the channel. We'll look at the job centre quickly. Honestly, the one job that might have interested me because they knocked us out of the Europa League was Southampton. However, they have only finished 7th in the Premier League, and because of that, they are in the Europa League light, so I don't think we'll be going there. Even though I do really like the look of their squad, I think we'll just leave things as they are. There's no need to be going to a club who are in a worse competition, European-wise, than us. And the South African teams, not great, and neither of the A-League teams. I think we'll just stay at Monaco for now. Not a lot of stuff coming up. Although, job security-wise, Zinedine Zidane is very insecure job status-wise at Real Madrid. Now, I feel it would be a bit village bicyclish if we were to hop off Monaco already, but I mean, it's Real Madrid. If that job came up, I think I would be silly not to take it. They aren't actually in the Champions League next season, which does surprise me, but it's Real Madrid. They will be absolutely red hot for the Europa League. If it comes up, I think I'm going to have to look at it, but that's the only job that's really got me interested should it come up, and even then, it's not much of a step up in terms of overall. I mean, it is, but considering where they finished this season, it kind of isn't. So I think we'll see how we get on. I'm hoping we can spend another season at Monaco at the very least and get ourselves into the Champions League. But yeah, maybe that would be easier at Real Madrid. We'll see what happens with that job. It is not a given to come up. So that's probably the one job that if it came up, I might apply for and then would have to make a decision. But make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on so you guys are informed when the start of next season drops, or if we do get a job interview and offer from Real Madrid, and I can maybe put a poll out there and see what you guys would prefer me to do. But until we get to the next video, I hope you guys enjoy the next few days, and I will see you very soon. Cheers.